Hey, I'm Peachy.
Hello, I'm Patrick.
And today we are joined by arguably the first female sculptor for Games Workshop, Trish Carden.
Arguably so.
Arguably so. Factually so.
Factually so, yeah.
Hello, Trish, and thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
You are one of the holy grails of the hobby, I would say.
I've been called many things. I've never been called a holy grail.
A chalice. So thank you for coming on, finding the time and to do it. So we on Sidetracked waffle on about a lot of stuff. So
Waffling's good.
That.
I can waffle for
Fantastic.
England, Scotland.
What our viewers would like, and they often like, go, oh, we don't really know who this person is. And if you don't, do you even hobby? That is the question. Give us a brief description of who you are and what you do. If you
God.
It sounds like an interview.
What do I do? I sculpted for Workshop for, just over 30 years altogether.
That's a long time.
Started off with Citadel. Moved, Ali and I had Marauder Miniatures for a while, back to Citadel, then to Forge World, and that was 2018 I left there. So,
and now you...
Now I have my own little range that...
which is
amazing! I can make whatever I want. And that's sold through Footsore Miniatures and Games.
Yes.
So, and it's called Harrowhurst.
And if you are nostalgic like me, there are so many hits. I literally can feel my follicles in my hair growing back just by looking at
them. You've got some, haven't you?
They're coming back. I'm like regenerating. I'm feeling like I'm 16 again. Because there's like a dragon and it's made out of, it's like a tree man niches a dragon.
You never got past 12.
I have. I did.
I got past never 12 got past 12.
And then turned into a dehydrated egg.
That's what kids do for you.
One of my friends who's lost his hair was telling me he will get some really baggy trousers, pull them up over his shoulders, and him and his kids play the Eggman chase around the house.
The Eggman chase. I've got a thing my dad used to do. Do you remember Beastmen? The movie?
Yeah,
there's like weird sort of bat creatures that grab people and go and then just fall into like a pile of bones, green bones. My dad used to, when he used to come back from work, you'd have like a big rain bag and it would be wet because he'd been out in the rain, and he would just come and chase after us around the house because he would do that whole like it was so we were freaked.
You need to try, there's a game that we play with the grandkids called, I don't know, it's Big Pants or something like that, and you get this monstrous pair of Y fronts that you put on. You turn over a card and it tells you, find something in the room beginning with a letter, something colour or whatever, and you've got to run around the room like idiots, grab the thing and stuff it down your pants.
That's amazing.
Now that makes for some interesting...
I bet it does, yeah.
And sometimes messy conclusions.
Just going to take a note of that. What's that game?
So there's one for everybody to play in a drunken evening.
So rolling back to Games Workshop.
Yeah.
When did you start in Games Workshop?
Officially on the books, 87. 87. Although I did some freelance before then.
Yeah.
When Ali and I were back up in Edinburgh. And we had a tiny little box room. It was big enough for a single bed that we set up there. And we worked there for a bit. And then we decided, you know what, let's just move down.
Yeah.
So
why not?
You will have worked with friend of the channel, Bob Naismith?
Of course. Fantastic. He actually worked, he shared, before we started for Workshop, I did a degree in jewellery and silversmithing.
Yes.
And got a little studio in the old Grassmarket area of Edinburgh, which is ancient old place. I think our studio dated back to about the 14th century.
Whoa.
And there was Ali doing his toy soldiers, myself doing my jewellery, another old jewellery friend of mine, Yvonne, she was doing her jewellery, and then Bobby Naismith joined us for a while.
Oh, wow.
And he worked there too.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was haunted. The whole street was haunted.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, it was brilliant. Weird things.
I love haunted stuff.
Weird stuff happened.
We need to talk about this in a minute. I love haunted
Seriously weird stuff. And so I used to do my jewellery there. And also, I suppose part of the weird stuff was there was a woman next door to us who made dolls. And I got a little side gig painting dolls' faces, like late at night, and that got creepy. Creepy things happen.
I'm going to sidetrack slightly about a doll story. So we lived in a house, and it was an old. So my dad got a job as a steward at Kedleston Hall in the Midlands,
I love
Derbyshire.
Yeah,
very beautiful.
yeah.
And they have a village for the workers, like a bunch of houses and stuff like that. We were on one of them, and apparently a young girl died there many moons ago, and it was always been classed as being haunted. There's old stories about it, and this, that, and the other. And as kids, you're a bit like, oh, ghosts, freaky. So anything that felt a bit weird or off was like, there's definitely poltergeist doing this. My sister had like this horrible doll. It was like one of those ones that you'd like lay backwards and its eyes would close and you'd stand upwards and its eyes would open, right? Yeah. But his eyes were a bit sticky, a bit gammy. So they didn't always. So when you lay it down, it didn't always close its eyes, and sometimes when you lay it up, its eyes always didn't open. Anyway, it used to be right by a door, and one day I walked, and its eyes were glued shut, like they're like sticky shut, and they should be open because it's right. Yeah. And I walked past, and they just literally went, "Oh my god!" I don't think I went upstairs for like hours because I was terrified by that doll.
Yeah, dolls are creepy.
They are creepy.
Dolls are creepy.
Not
definitely.
right.
And that place, that doll shop was definitely haunted. It really was. It was. We would be upstairs.
I think we should definitely talk about that then.
Well, we would be upstairs,
tell us some stories.
Sort of painting doll faces, myself and the daughter of the woman who owned it, and we'd have locked the shop door.
Yeah.
And there was a ding ding, as the door opened if anybody came in. So we'd lock the shop door and turn out the lights because we didn't want to be disturbed. And you could guarantee at some point within the next hour, ding ding, somebody would be in the shop. And it'd be like, okay.
Who's in there?
Who's in there? And coffee cups would move.
Well, you'd see them move, or they just like randomly.
I would see that it was in a different place. She actually saw one move.
Oh gosh.
And the shop was such an old building. It had these stone pillars holding the place up 2 or 3 in the shop. And you would be down in the shop and you would see somebody disappear behind the pillar, very old, but there was nobody there.
That's terrifying.
And then next door to the doll shop, there was a sort of ironmonger's shop of all trades. And it happened a few times. He would get a delivery last thing at night of brushes and nails and whatever he was going to sell. Put the boxes inside the shop to put away in the morning. He'd come in the morning, a whole lot had been put away.
That's awesome.
That was helpful. That was a helpful.
Yeah.
It was, that's where I got half my love of creepiness from. But it was fun to work there.
Yeah. I have a story about the haunted house we lived in.
Yeah. You lived in one.
We lived in one.
You lived in one.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Sometimes my uncle would turn up with his little kids, and you hear like a little as they come running around, because the front door just was a bit naff and didn't open properly, so we never used it. So everyone used the back door. And when they're coming round, it'd be like, Gary's here with the kids, and you can hear him like running around. We heard that because we were about to go to town. We heard this. And we looked at the side window because we got the stairs went up the side. We looked and we saw like something go past. And we were like, really want to be going to town. We don't have to entertain like guests for like an hour before we go to town. And then nothing came to the door. Like, huh? So we opened, and one of the dogs is barking. Yeah. So we opened the door and went round. There was no one there. There was no car. Gary wasn't there. We're like, what? And we went back in. And my mum's jumper did that. We're like,
oh God, no!
What? So we all got quite freaked out. My mum was super into like the supernatural. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's definitely a poltergeist, definitely a ghost. And so like me and my dad were like, well, make yourself useful. When we come back, I want this house hoovered. So we went to town. We came back. The house was hoovered, right? Now my brother James
hoovered.
To cut a long story short, but he's never done it up to that point unasked. And never did it after that point unasked.
Oh, so he wasn't in the room, or did he?
No, he didn't know what had gone off because he was working at the farm at the time. He was working at a dairy farm, and he'd been milking that morning, so that had gone on for ages.
That's...
And he'd often come back at lunchtime for his lunch, then go. And he decided one day he was going to come back and hoover the entire house. He's never done that.
It was being
possessed. I reckon he got possessed. So the ghost was like, oh, I've got to wear someone to do this. This ginger guy will do. So obviously...
there's house fairies though, isn't there? There's house elves.
Yeah. It was so weird. But we reckon our brother was possessed for a short period of time.
Well, I think most brothers are at some point.
Probably.
So what got you from moving to jewellery to miniatures? Was it just Ali?
It was meeting Ali, yeah, because at the time he was doing... mostly 15mm for Mike's models, Dixon's, and they were all historical stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to be fascinated by it. You know, I'd never seen anything like this before. I'd only ever seen these awful plastic things that you buy in the supermarket, you know, a big bag of plastic, World War II or something. So, I was just fascinated by it all, and used to sit and watch them, and, you know, got interested in the history behind it all. And at that time, he was using milliput because green stuff wasn't being used then. And we were going out together, and we eventually decided we were going to get married, and we wanted to buy a flat. And we were both self-employed. I had a little jewellery business at the time. So one of us had to get a job, or we wouldn't get a mortgage, basically, at that time.
Yeah.
And so he started sort of looking around, and he got in touch with Brian, and he had a trip or two up to down to Nottingham, and he was offered a job.
Oh, okay.
So he took that, and I'd got so interested by this time that when I wasn't making jewellery, I was playing around with putty. And it was something I did in my jewellery anyway. I didn't do like pretty gold stuff. I did lots of wood carving. I knew a chap who made pianos and things. So I would get offcuts of different woods.
Oh, cool.
And I would lay them into silver frames, and I would do all sorts of carving. And he'd give me ivory offcuts from piano keys and things. So, you know, there was a similarity in some ways. So I thought, I'm going to try this. Yeah. So I made this Beastman. It was just kind of standing, you know, really stiff and horrible. And it had like,
in like
two heads,
T-pose,
you know, it was like a head with an extra little bit on it. And so Ali took it one time when he was down to see Brian, and Brian, it's okay, she want a job. So I started supplementing by making stuff for workshop, and eventually that took over from the jewellery.
I suppose at that time as well, they were using a lot of historical stuff, so having like these weird mad creations that you were probably like kicking out was actually more beneficial to
I mean, the Perrys were doing a lot of fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the time when fantasy was the big thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a fascinating, you know, I'd never seen anything like this fantasy wargaming type stuff. And the people we met, I thought, they were really nice. You know, it was a great gang. It was a real family feel. I thought, you know, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. So, yeah, we ended up in our box room in Edinburgh, crammed in. I've got a photograph from there. I'll need to put it up on the net of Ali looking about 12. This little, you know.
I've seen some photos recently that you put up on Instagram.
We all look about 12. I know, God.
Jez Goodwin, just like.
Oh well, he had hair like his figures, didn't he?
Like, how tight is that boat? It's like up to here. It's like Simon Cowell, sort of like with the jeans. I was like, oh my God.
I've got some others. Yeah, I probably won't show them though. But yeah, we did that, and we did. I did that first Beastman range, which was the first thing I did. Then the Troglodytes and the Lizard Men.
Nice.
And did some of the Judge Dredd stuff back in Edinburgh.
Did you do the bike?
No, I think that was Bob. Bobby Naismith did that. I did Perps, Uglies, Fatties, the Sky Surfers.
I saw some of the Uglies on your Instagram. Yeah.
And they were ugly.
And they live up to the name. Yeah, you did a great job.
It wasn't hard. I wasn't very good back then.
Disagree.
No, it was of its time, shall we say. But yeah, so we did all that, and then got to the point we thought, you know, if we're going to make a career of this, we'll move down to Nottingham. Yeah. So we moved down, and we stayed with Brian and Diane at Linby in their mansion there for...
A mansion even at that point, did they?
Yeah, well, it's a big house. It was a lovely house. We were there, I think, for 6 or 8 weeks. We had a little sort of separate bit, you know, with
like
bedrooms, like an annex type thing. And we worked from there for a bit until we found a house. And it was Enfield Chambers then, was where the studio was. And it just all went from there, you know.
Are you responsible, because I know Suggs goes on about
Never
it
responsible. Never.
For
Deny
Ostrich
everything.
Guy and Horse?
Which one?
Ostrich Guy.
Oh God, yeah.
And Horse.
Yeah, that was one of the first, the first Beastman range. Which
I love it.
Amazing.
There are a few that are probably...
And was there a camel?
Not terribly PC. There was camel, there was ostrich, there was seahorse.
Yeah.
Strange horseman that I probably...
Have you seen Louise's video where she talks about the hobby iceberg?
I get very excited little messages from Louise. I found this. this. Look, I'm going to paint it.
Yeah, and I remember she showed me Ostrich Man.
Yeah.
I think this was pre her leaving, but when she was planning on it and that sort of stuff, and she was like, I'm gonna paint this. and showed me Ostrich Man, and I was just like, that is amazing.
Well, actually, to be honest, scoop here, I've got 2 Beastmen made so far in that kind of style.
Oh, amazing.
I mean,
I'm feeling it coming back.
They're just something I'm doing every now and again. I'll put some putty on one.
I think Louise will
Because,
be over the moon.
it's got to be done.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
done.
I mean, just seeing these things here, and I'll take some photos of them. And obviously they're on Futsal Miniatures if you check out the website. It just takes me back to like the 90s and stuff. And like at first I actually thought the Treeman was one of the original Treeman. It's got the same vibe.
Very inspired by it,
but
obviously.
It's great.
Yeah.
But getting that stuff again and being able to get access to it.
Yeah.
And be able to paint it and add it to your wood elf collections and stuff.
Well,
I mean,
that's
this thing's just a straight.
A lot of people have been doing that. They've been buying them to add to the particular range they're collecting.
Because I mean, I could be wrong, but for a long period of time, I think Jeff refers to you as the mother of dragons.
Oh, yeah.
You pretty much did most monsters.
Yeah.
Because even like Necromunda, like little Milosaurs and Ripper Jacks and stuff
I mean,
like that.
I definitely got pigeonholed into that, but happily so.
Yes.
Because that's what I like doing, that's what I enjoyed. And got known as Monster Girl. Was named by Peter Jackson, I'll have you know.
Oh, was it? Is that why you're Monster Girl Trish?
That's why I'm Monster Girl Trish. He'd come to the studio and I'd made Shelob.
Oh.
And
cool.
he was coming round the studio and he was coming into... We were all in little rooms at the time with 2 or 3 designers in each room. And he came and popped his head into our room and I thought, oh, I've just finished this. She handshaking madly. He goes, oh, he says, yes, you must be the Monster Girl. I thought, right, that's it, I'm Monster Girl. He was lovely.
Owning that.
He was such a nice man.
I've heard nothing but nice things about him. I mean,
we got to have lunch with him and everything.
Oh, amazing.
And he brought his son, who I think he was only about 7 or 8 at the time. So
was he a hobbit as well? Was he a hobbit? I
think he was. Yeah. Yes, he was. But I ended up taking him for a tour around, the factory and the studio amazing. And everything. He was a nice little lad. So, yeah, I'm very proud of my Monster Girl.
Yes, yeah. So you should be, and you are clearly owning it.
You've got to.
You've got to. Absolutely.
So I guess, I don't know, maybe a question. Usually what I do is waffle and then go, I don't know what my question is.
So do I. Don't worry about that.
So maybe it's just an observation. Because I guess through my lack of understanding of sculpting and stuff like that, I look at like the older models that were hand sculpted, sort of like back in the day.
Yeah.
And do you feel like as you sculpt now that you're trying to emulate that sort of more older style? Or
I wouldn't say in the actual sculpting, because let's just say there's a nod to what it was.
Yeah.
To the old world, if you like.
Yeah.
Because that's the bit I really loved.
Yeah.
And all the creatures that were in it. I think the sculpting is probably recognisable because I do have a style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because I use polymer clay now, as opposed to green stuff, it's changed the way I sculpt.
Okay.
And it's not always for the best because I get caught up in detail and then, stop now. No, just one more toadstool. Stop. Because polymer clay is great for that. You can put so much. I find it really easy to do detail.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah,
is that a weird sort of grey
it's the stuff you bake. And the one I use is one called Bees Putty, which is fantastic.
Great name.
Great name, Bees Putty. And so I do everything in that now. And it just means I can go bonkers with the detail because I don't tend to bake them until they're finished.
Yeah.
So I can be working back and forward. I can be changing things. If something doesn't look right, I can adjust it.
So it stays quite pliable for a time.
Yes, it doesn't harden up until you bake it.
That's amazing.
And you can then, once it's baked, you can actually bake. You can sculpt on top of that and bake it again.
Yeah.
So it's versatile. But I found with green stuff, once you've done a bit and it's set, if you realise you've made a mistake or you want to change something, you're carving bits off. And to me, polymer clay is just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Does it have is it a bit like a double-edged sword that sometimes you end up going, oh no?
Yeah. I need to cut these. Yeah. I was doing some work. I'm converting one of the trolls into a nice portly female troll at the moment.
Lovely.
Because people like things in threes, and I did take a chunk out of her backside yesterday, so these will be getting cut.
Will she have an appropriate name for that as well? Because
There will be a name. There will be a name. I haven't found it yet, but
because I was just looking at the Harrowhurst.
Harrowhurst.
Oh,
Harrowhurst.
God.
A
I'm
hurst
awful with
is an
names.
old wooded knoll in the countryside,
Oh, is it? Oh, I see.
and Harrow because it's quite a harrowing place. It's,
Yes.
you know.
So I've just been illuminated before we went live that Trish loves wording.
I do.
So there's lots of name conventions that you're using for these creatures.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get you to spill a couple out because I can't remember because they are insane. What was the frog called again?
Pobblebonk.
Pobblebonk, and that's
Which is
old word for
it's an
frog.
old word for frog. Yeah, I mean,
So good.
I'm fascinated with old dialects and language. So I spent time going through various books and websites, finding names that were just rolled off the tongue, you know, that were
Yeah.
really, or had humour, or just, I mean, what it means doesn't necessarily gel with the figure,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
just the sound of them.
Yeah.
And
the,
so-
the unicorn's called Dimple. Oh, that's so
Dimple
cute.
the unicorn.
But you know, it's things like, so Mock Moon.
Mock Moon, yeah.
Yeah, and this guy actually is Quercus, the
Yeah.
dragon, because that's Latin for oak, it's a tree. And then you've got like Quake Buttock as one of the trolls, and that's actually an old word for a coward,
Oh,
which I thought was quite apt for a troll in some ways.
Yeah, because I'm used to hearing like Craven and stuff like that, but Quake
Yeah.
Buttock
Yeah.
does actually sound, it does what it says on the
Yeah,
tin,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, and then there's a Mizzle, the swamp wormy's Mizzle, and Mizzle is a light rain in Scotland,
You see, I've heard of
Oh,
Mizzle before,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
like a drizzle, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mizzle.
but even worse.
Is it like a misty
Yeah,
misty
just
rain?
that kind of rain that really wets you but doesn't
Yes, yeah.
rain properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah.
it's all these words from like old languages, a lot of which are still being used in places today, and stuff from folklore, because I love folklore.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Folklore's
hugely influenced by that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still like mesmerised by the tree. Just
He's
want
my
to paint some
baby.
old school wood elves now.
Well, he had to be hardwood because, you know.
Hardwood.
Yeah, Heartwood.
I just love a good heart.
Yeah. Have you ever tried, or was there ever a push to make you try when you were at workshop, digital sculpting?
Oh, I
did you ever give it a go?
Digital, yeah. When they brought in the haptic arms that they used,
Yeah.
what's
Or
called
is that
freeform,
yeah.
freeform, yeah, which a lot of them use today. Yeah, and I learned that, and I did do a lot of the kits, partly using that.
Oh.
We tend to make. Well, one of them was the Fenrisian wolves.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
You did the
I-
Fenrisian wolves, did you?
I did,
Oh.
yeah.
Ooh.
One of my favourites.
Yeah, they're the same.
They're so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
did-
use them for my loads of armies.
Yeah, they're just great. People use them, put goblins on them and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with that, I made 3-ups of the actual wolf in, I think it was Sculpey at that time, and that was scanned, put into the machine,
Yeah.
and then digitally I did all the cutting up, the fitting, and a bit of sculpting, a bit of posing, a bit of tweaking. So there was a bit of sculpting done and a
Yeah.
lot of engineering, which I never really enjoyed very much.
Did you do the large ones as well, like the Thunderwolves and stuff like that?
No, it was just the Fenrisian ones. Yeah,
Which are the best.
yeah.
I painted a load of red ones and called them blood wolves for my daughters who
Wolves,
came.
yeah.
So they've got loads of hounds to send out and sniff the blood.
Yeah, but no, I ended up doing quite a lot of plastic. Did the Storm of Magic, you know, the Chimera,
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
Manticore,
Chimera, yeah.
the Dark Elf Dragon.
Did you do the riders or was it just the?
No,
beasts?
I just did
Yeah.
the beasts,
Yeah.
and then various other people did the riders.
Because what I
so-
liked about the Manticore in particular
Yeah.
was you had a saddle that you could put on.
That's right, yeah.
With the wizard or the.
That was Alex Hedstrom did the
It
rider.
was, yeah. I was trying to remember who it was. Another boldy like me. So yeah, you had like a bit of saddle that you can put onto the body, and it could have like a Chaos Lord or a
Yeah.
Chaos Sorcerer. But what I really liked was you could take that off and then put a mane of hair in it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you didn't have the saddle.
Yeah,
so then
you could just have it as a beast, yeah.
As a loose creature, which
Yeah.
is really, really good. So yeah, you did the Chimera that.
Yeah.
Did you do the Jabberslife that came out at that time as well?
No, I didn't do the Jabberslide.
Yeah, because I know that was like, because you had like the weird, I I forget what it's called now, cockatrix as well.
Yeah, I did the cockatrice. That was a resin kit, though, that one. And I think what the other plastics were, the dire. There was plastic. Was it the dire wolves?
Yes.
I try to remember from back then.
Yeah.
Did them. Did a good few.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Manticore is one of my favourite.
Yeah.
Monster
Oh, the new
kits.
one's gorgeous. I really like the new one.
Is that the Citizen Sigma
Yeah.
one with it?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's gorgeous size.
big lion head. I don't know. It's not as vicious looking with all the tusks
Well, it's
sticking
not,
out and all
but
the
it's still a
massive
gorgeous
fangs and
sculpt,
stuff.
though. It's a lovely sculpt.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
painting the first one. I got to paint the very first one because Heavy Metal was still painting theirs at the
Yeah.
time, and they're like, we need loads for like the Storm of Magic thing. So I got given one. I ended up giving like a blue body with white mane and stuff.
Cool.
And I just had 2 different characters that can pop in and out, and then a spare bit where you could. I think I put some wooden dowel on it, so I could like
So you
pop
could-
it in properly, so it didn't keep coming off.
Oh,
So it was very interchangeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the benefit of being an army painter, is you can get the things on the
Yeah,
table
you can
first.
get. Yeah.
I painted the first one ever.
Oh yeah, that's quite a
Fame at
cool,
last. Fame at last.
quite a cool brag.
Yeah.
That's a good brag.
Within a
That's
certain
good brag.
circle.
Within a very small, tight circle. But then they're like, yeah, but we painted ours 100 times better. I'm like, I know.
It doesn't
You've
matter.
got a
You did the first
starfield on
one.
his butt.
Yeah.
I think it was like one of the chimeras or manticores that had like
Yeah,
a
had a star.
starfield.
That was ace.
Yeah, I was like mental.
Yeah, some of the paint jobs are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're in Specialist Game Studio Forge World,
Yeah.
I want to, because I really love it. I'm probably going to like being super stupid here. But did you do the In Carmine Dragon?
I did the Carmine Dragon. That was
Yeah.
I did that before I went to Forge World. I just wanted to
Carmine
make
Dragon, sorry.
yeah, I wanted to make a dragon that looked the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just made it, and that was I think that was Sculpey as well, grey Sculpey, and gave it to Tony, and Rick was there at the time, and they released it at that point. Yeah,
Because I think for a long, long time, it probably still is, probably one of the best dragons that I think the business has had. Because because up to that point, I mean, obviously you've done like some of the older
I'd
dragons,
done
like
lots.
Dogs of War with the
Yeah.
what was it? There was a lot of dragons. That
yeah.
had different.
I mean, there's a lot that
fittings
were
and stuff.
actually based on the old Talisman Dragon. Remember the
yes,
Talisman
yes,
plastic
I do,
dragon?
yeah.
Because I made that.
Oh wow!
I made a lot of dragons. But after it was done, we would use the body or the wings
Yes.
and just put a different head and maybe
Yeah.
a different
'cause you had
tail,
like a bit
you
of a
know.
like a
Because
snake.
it was so many of them were that S shape,
Yeah, yeah.
which again was a lot to do with base size, and it was stable, and
Yeah.
you know, you could
Makes sense.
your rider could be high up, looking down on the battlefield, you know. So
We kind of kept it with a footprint as well.
I did.
So it wasn't too like
yeah,
getting
it
in the
wasn't
way of
taken,
unison. Yeah.
you know, like nowadays, like that. The last thing I did for Forge World was the big dragon,
yes.
Scallock and Borgoroth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, that's the size of a chihuahua, you know. It's a doorstop. It really is a chihuahua door.
How long would something like that take you to sculpt?
It took me the best part of a year, but I was only working part-time,
Oh,
so
okay.
I was
Yeah.
working 3 days a week. But
Yeah.
there was a lot in it, and
I
that
can
was
imagine,
that was
yeah.
Sculpey. I did Sculpey and Bees Putty. And it took a long time with an awful lot of skulls.
Yeah. So anyway,
So forever going to the mould room. Can you cast me up some more skulls, please?
and then they made the skull pack, which was all plastic.
I know, but yeah, I used to get resin skulls.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it took ages, but
Yeah.
I loved doing it. I really enjoyed doing it.
See, that is such a weird thing because for a long time, even like in the design studio before, like sculpting that dragon, so many times we were just like getting like Jonesy or someone to go and cast like skulls.
Yeah.
And like, oh, here's because the best skulls for a long time were the Death Rattle Skeleton Warriors. That I can't remember who made them now. I want to say Mike Anderson or something like that. Because they felt a little bit more, not as clunky and chunky as the old days ones.
yeah.
They felt a bit more realistic, but they were used a lot for like chaos
Yeah.
scenery. So like I remember Jonesy like getting loads glued onto like some frames, put them into like moulds, and
Yeah,
make
yeah.
loads of casts
Yeah.
of them. And it's like, why do we not just do this as a bits box?
Oh, definitely.
And then they did the metal ones in like a little clam pack, kind of like they're again really chunky. But yeah, it took like someone to go, let's just make a box of
Yeah.
plastic sprues full of skulls.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody will use them for
yeah, they're
something or
always
other,
selling
you
out.
know. Yeah.
Was we should have asked Tom when he was here.
Yeah, because he would have been there at that time.
Because he would have been there. I heard a rumor that they went to the studio and said, "Hey, can we have your skulls to make a skull pack?" And they were like, no, you need to design them all yourself. And they were like, but they already exist.
I won't name any names so I don't want to affect their well, not chances or anything like that, but I just don't want to get them into trouble. But there was this weird thing in the hobby product studio where they were doing scenery, and there's an asset for a skull or a Sigmarite design, and they'll ask miniatures like, oh, can we use that just to add on to this building? Like, no, you need to sculpt it yourself.
Oh, no.
And it's just like, why?
You're the same company.
I know, it's like, yes, someone has put the time in, granted, but it's just adding more time. And the weird thing was that the hobby products guys, when they were making things like Dave and Steve and Ray, they had like 6 weeks to make like a scenery kit, whereas like, and for the same amount of frames as like the miniatures guys, had like 36 weeks.
No, let's face it, a skull's a skull, really.
Yeah, I mean, all you're doing is doing the same. And I'll go back to my point with like shots on white as well. So you'd get this where they'd get the model, they'd get in the golden angle, they'd take a shot of white for the website, and then White Dwarf would take their own shot of white. Publications would take their own shot on white, then Forge World will like maybe using a shot and then do their own shot on white. And it's like, it's the same model in the same position. 4 or 5 different photographers have taken the same photo. Can we not just share?
Yeah,
it's all. It
doesn't make a great deal of sense.
To the point where it's just a bit like, no, they're my toys. You can't.
You're not allowed to communicate with someone from a different tribe.
Yes,
unclean.
So it could get silly for that reason alone. Like, you could just share the skulls are skulls, right?
Well, yeah.
So that's how I identify 40k in Age of Sigmar in Warhammer, isn't it? It's just skulls.
Skulls.
Put all the
Lots
skulls
and
on
lots
it.
and lots and lots of skulls.
Yeah.
All the skulls.
I've got a question.
Go on then.
Other than my personal favourite, which is Carmine Dragon, but that's a big Forge World kit. Plastic, metal dragons of like the 90s, traditional old world. Which is your favourite?
Of the 90s.
So I couldn't. I struggled to go. Oh,
Wood
this
Elf.
edition. Oh, is this the one with the twin sisters on? Or the
Well, both of them really. Yeah, because one was converted from the other. But yeah, I enjoyed that one.
yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, I
My forest addiction.
I'm seeing it.
yeah.
I never got it, and I always liked. Oh, I forget his name now. I want to say something like Ezildor or something like that. It was like the Dogs of War
I can't
character,
remember all the names.
but I don't know what it is about that. Because, like you say, it's the same kind of body and same plastic wings, isn't it, for most?
Yeah.
But it was just like all the rider and like the extra details on the head and stuff. I just like them.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was Dogs of War and I was collecting Dogs of War.
Possibly.
I don't know.
Possibly. But yeah. It's always difficult to choose when somebody says, "What's your favourite figure?" It's like,
Yeah.
So we ask our patrons, say like, oh, we're having X person on, ask them some questions, and we've had a few sculpts on now, and quite commonly it's like,
what's your favourite?
What's your favourite?
Probably the one you're making at the time, often, isn't it?
And that is what Paul said yesterday as well. Was he said that it's the one he's making or the next one.
Yeah.
Which I think is
it's like asking you who your favourite child is,
Yeah.
Luckily, when you got one, it's fine.
That's fine. Yeah. Got one.
So with obviously, I guess you're doing lots of fantasy and that's sort of where your
that's me love.
Yes, absolutely. How did you find working on like the 40k pieces that you sculpted?
Fine, yeah. I mean, it was a nice change.
Okay, yeah.
It was a nice change in a lot of ways, and
a
lot of the stuff I did was demons and stuff like that, which are pretty much the same in fantasy as they are in 40k anyways. So I did very little hardline stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I think there was the dreadnoughts. I did some bits on them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
is that like little extra totems and things?
No, it was the sigils and the all the detail on. I'd get a resin blank and then I'd carve on
of course,
whoever they were.
Interesting. Yeah. Did you ever find your hands on a Space Marine?
I think years back I made one for something. Was it Talisman Timescape or something like that? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But it was eons ago.
Yeah.
Eons ago. But I never really... Again, I like sci-fi, but I love fantasy.
Yeah.
It was... And there were other people who would be much better at me than me at doing that. So, stick to what I really love.
Yeah. Play to your strengths sort of thing.
God,
yeah. Oh, that's really interesting.
So you were there a good amount of time?
Yeah, it was about was it 31, 32 years, something like that.
What would you say was your favourite period?
Favourite period?
Because I guess the early days there's a lot more like creation of...
I loved Forge World because it was like being back in the studio.
A lot of people have said
a
even
long time
now,
ago. And the people there are fantastic. They were amazing. And the time I was there, it was still mostly hand sculpted.
Yeah.
Apart from some of the guys who were doing the tanks and various things on computer. But it really was that family feel. Really got on well with them all. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Then my daughter joined as an illustrator.
Yes, I remember. I remember Marauder actually at a Games Day, one of the first Games Days.
She grew up in workshop. Yeah, I mean, she used to come into the studio school holidays and we'd find her a little desk in the corner.
Bless.
She'd get some papers and stuff and she'd sit and draw and she'd wander around looking at the artists and chat to them. And I mean, John Blanche, he was fantastic. He used to come and he would give her advice and get her to draw little things. And
amazing.
She was just, she had to join workshop, didn't she? She didn't have a choice. It was in the blood.
Yeah.
And Jess Goodwin's daughter Holly, she joined as well.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And so it's become a family business, but
that's good.
Yeah, it was
the next generation.
Yeah, and it was good. And it was all the youngsters like Louise.
Yes, yeah,
like Suggs, and a whole lot of others, and it was just really a nice place to work.
Yeah, people in my experience seem to talk really fondly of working at Forge World.
Forge World, yeah. But I think other points, I've got to say, towards the beginning when we were winging it, we didn't know what we were doing. It was a bunch of nerds just getting really frothed up and enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And going out and drinking too much after we finished working.
That's the only way.
The only way.
Drunk sculpting competitions.
Sculpting competition. And it was just, it was kind of organised chaos.
Yeah.
And being in a big room with the twins, Ali and myself, Jez, Nick Bibby, and Kev came for a bit, but he preferred a little room on his own.
Kev
Adams.
Oh yes, Kev Adams. Yeah.
But we were in that room and people were in and out, and it was just one prank after another. Just one thing after another. How we ever got any work done, I don't know.
Did you find during those, I guess, that period of time that you had more like creative freedom? If things were like in their infancy, could you just be like, yeah, it's this and it's going to do this? In a bit,
because a lot of it hadn't been pinned down.
Oh, okay.
It still wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
There was maybe something being written about it, or maybe one of the designers came up with an idea, like Jez with the Skaven. But a lot of the time as well, we want you to make this. And you had a lot of freedom to the way you wanted to make it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a great time because it was just new,
Yeah.
I suppose that's the thing I miss with being in the design studio, is that melting pot of like ideas and creation and just like coming up with like mad. And so, a load of it wouldn't get through. I remember going on a tour when I passed my manager training for retail. At that time, you're allowed to go through the studio as a tour. And I think I went to, must have been the Perry's, because they had like little cubicle rooms, didn't they? And there was like loads of models on a shelf that just didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't...
It was just like, what?
that wasn't unusual.
Yeah.
For various reasons, there would, be quite a lot that, it might have a few cast.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get, so it wouldn't get released. And now, people are, I need to get that one,
Yeah.
But, that was a really good time. That was, I keep saying I use the word fun an awful lot, but it was really good fun.
Yeah. No,
and the writers were wandering in, the artists were wandering in. We were all, again, it was that family feel at the beginning.
Very collaborative as well, I imagine.
Yeah, and it was nice. We'd rock, Ali and I would rock in about 10 o'clock in the morning. There was no sort of, we'd rock in and we'd put in a good day until about 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were the same, and then off to the pub or off out for a Chinese meal or something like that, with the same people.
Yeah.
And, it was just a good time. It was, you felt you were doing something that hadn't been done before.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
I think if we'd known what it was going to become, we'd maybe have been a bit more in awe of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Ali and I thought, well, if we get 2 or 3 good years out of this before it all collapses sort of thing, that'll be great. But nobody thought it would
become what it is today.
It's mad because I suppose, like, you know, you look back at any kind of thing, but I suppose if you had that might have skewed your...
I think it would. I mean, we were essentially...
sort of design aesthetics and stuff.
We're essentially kids just let loose with a cookie jar, basically.
Yeah. Just free with creation, because I think having that mindset of like, oh, this is going to be really big in the future, people are going to judge us and look at the stuff, then you'd second guess every miniature that you make. Then Ostrich Guy would never exist in
Ostrich Guy wouldn't have existed, no. But, you know, we also had people like John Blanche and Tony Ackland who were just churning out the most incredible art that was totally out there. It was just this world that nobody had seen before. You know, out of John's wild and wonderful imagination. And, you know, Tony had a great classical training, so his stuff was always, you know, it was fantastic, but you could see his knowledge of anatomy and everything behind it, so it looked real. You know. And it was fantastic, just having that around to inspire you.
I think my favourite John Blanche art, certainly of that era, I think it's John, is there's a Knight's Panther.
Oh yeah,
and he's on like
gorgeous.
It's just like, it's a knight, but it's like all in this weird leopard skin, and it's very fantasy. But also the landscape feels very not our world.
Yes,
because there's like all these mounds, like mounds with like little grass tufts on it all the way in the distance.
Yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, so I always remember that was like a really good sort of like, this is definitely
I remember just being horrified he would do these. I think it was oil paints he used for a lot of them, or acrylics and stuff. But then to get them scanned or whatever they did to get them in the magazine and stuff, he would peel. He did them on board. And he would peel the picture off the board. And it's like you watch and think, no, don't tear it, don't tear it. And it was just
that could go horribly wrong.
Yeah, but he did it. You know, I remember watching him thinking, oh my God, no.
I never knew that. That's mad.
That was in the good old days when cow gum was used for, you know, pasting up.
Yeah, those cows chewing gum, spitting everywhere, God damn them.
I know. Cow gum. Totally different.
I feel really bad as well, because we mentioned this on a previous podcast, because he recently retired. I actually thought he'd retired way before that, because I don't see him at head office, and he'd turn up every now and again to Bugman's and like be there with his sketchbook and stuff, but I thought he'd retired long before that.
No, he was still behind the scenes doing his stuff, you know. John will never stop.
No.
He'll never stop, and I really look forward to seeing what he does now that he's not having to do workshop stuff. You know, I look forward to seeing what he'll come up with.
His femme militant stuff he did was quite mad and cool.
It was.
I know as a guy who works there, who's a big fan of John as well, Tim Malloy. He's got lots of the, because he did a range of miniatures called Femme Militant. They're very John Blanche-esque.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Well, women with huge... there was a mixture of sculptors on that, because he used... I think Kev White did one, and I think he used to ask various...
Makes sense.
People to, you know...
I never got older one, but I got loads of the tins. Because the tins, the models would come in like a really nice little tin, like a little tobacco tin. It would have like a really cool stylized stiletto on it. And my wife's got loads because she likes shoes. She's like, they're cool tins, I want some of those. And I've got loads of them around the house somewhere. But I don't know why we had this massive surplus of like John Blanche stiletto tins. But
who knows? Who knows?
Well, they're cool. But none of them had a miniature in it. I was really sad. One day I'm sure I'll get hold of one. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was. Those were good times. Good times.
So, other than the stuff at workshop, and actually, I was going to ask you. Sorry, then.
That's
Sidetracked. So you did Citadel. Then, so explain to me about Marauder.
Yes, everybody wants to know about Marauder.
Yeah, because it's like it feels like it's its own thing, but yet still.
It was its own thing to a degree.
Yeah.
But it was also a way of spreading the reach.
Okay.
And Ali and I worked so well together, and our styles gelled, which you would expect. But at the time, there wasn't, a lot of small shops who wouldn't take something from the Citadel range because it was too big or, whatever. And it was a way of sort of getting into more places.
Yeah.
And also a way of just letting us run with ideas that might not necessarily have fitted in the main range at the time.
That makes sense.
So, it kind of worked. From our point of view, it was great because we got to make stuff we really wanted to make. And we had our own little studio and everything. And it was good for workshop because they got a bit more reach out into different areas and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell you what I had now, but there used to be a shop in Derby called Amazing.
Yeah.
And it was parallel to Games Workshop on Friar Lane. I'm going to Nottingham.
You're going
on
to Nottingham.
Sandlergate, there's a parallel behind it. It's like a little walk through. There's a little road called the Strand. And on there was a little shop called Amazing. And they used to have loads. Had this nice little sort of counter. It was like clear perspex. It had these little steps and loads of models, and there was loads of Marauder stuff on there. But I'm sure I got like random figures and stuff over the years.
Yeah,
and my brother definitely did.
We actually did quite a bit. And then towards the end of it, Colin Dixon joined us.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And he made a few bits and pieces. But
makes the best dwarf cannon. Just going to say that again. I love his dwarf cannon.
But I mean, sadly, that was
I'm sure he did more than that. But.
Yeah, he did. He did a few bits and pieces, but it was towards the end of it, really. And but it was nice because we felt more involved with the whole process as well, because we would be in we worked from War Games Foundries.
Okay, yeah.
At one point where they were doing all their stuff with Cliff, Brian's dad.
Yeah.
And no, it was great. We had a room there which was out at Baseford, Old Baseford.
Yeah.
Which was good. And then we moved to a place on, was it Huntingdon Street? I think it was Huntingdon Street.
Is that near the Lace Market, that one?
It's like a main road through Nottingham.
The main road, This kind of there's a Glasshouse Street goes kind of parallel to it. Yeah. But we got involved, and we also had a little place up at Derby Terrace, where eventually Flame joined us. That was the last place we had, Flame Miniatures, Flame Publications, sorry.
Don't recognise them.
Yeah, it was Tony Ackland, Robin Dews, Mike Brunton, Graham Davis. They did.
Yeah, those names do sound familiar. I didn't know that was interesting.
But the good thing about Marauder was we could get involved with a bit of everything. We had one salesman who ended up being... The last salesman we had was Mark Farr, who does Footsore, which is why they are doing my casting and everything, because we stayed buddies. But, you know, if he was busy with something, we'd answer the phones. So, you know, you'd do a bit. You know, if you were needed help to pack stuff, we'd do it. Yeah. You know, some of the line drawings, Brian decided that it would be better to make it very different from Citadel, which was doing a lot of photography of the figures for adverts. We had all the old black and white line drawings.
Oh, cool.
And I think Dave Andrews did a few, but we would do them as well for the catalogue. And it just gave it a different look and a different style.
I remember that now, all that, because like you had like weird like slan, like Beastman and stuff like that. It was like, definitely the line drawings and stuff.
And Ali did the logo. He did the skull with the pirate skull. And, you know, it was nice to be involved with more aspects of the business than just sculpting. Yeah. You know, and we had our own little golden demon. We had the Marauder, the Marauder thing, you know, dagger thing. I think we only did one of them. But, you know, if we went to a games day...
with the dagger at the end of it.
But if we went to a games day or whatever, we would be selling as well. We'd be standing in the stands selling it too. So you were getting to know who was buying your stuff. And I think it made for a good relationship with the people who were buying it. Yeah. And we got to know them. And it, you know, there was a lot of loyalty to it, an awful lot of loyalty.
It's interesting because that's quite common now. That's how a lot of sculptors operate. They go to events, they're there actually on the stand selling their thing, aren't they? So,
I mean, nowadays, I believe Workshop doesn't have any of the sculptors or artists or anybody like that at Games Day, which is a shame.
It absolutely.
It really is.
I was talking to Louise because we drove down to a little show called Griffcom, and we were just talking about it. And I remember, for me, even though I would do stuff for White Dwarf and it was armies and things, I never sculpted, I never did art. You know, I did art, but I never did.
Yeah, you were arting.
But it was a morale boost. And you could see the things that you were doing had a positive impact. Yes. So then it made you feel more confident, and then you go and make more cool stuff. Whereas now you're just going to be stuck in a little box, not knowing if people appreciate it and like it, and then just carrying doing the same thing and hoping people like it, and then think, the internet, because this is the other thing, is like the internet's like, oh, this is a rubbish sculpture.
Oh God, it's poisonous.
It's that's
poisonous.
one person, isn't it? Because it's the
I mean, I had loads of that.
Yeah.
Loads of it at the beginning. Well, not at the beginning, but sort of midway through my career with Workshop. It was on that Portent website, remember? I used to
God, yeah.
It was, and it got vicious.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was, she's a bloody woman, she can't sculpt and all this kind of thing. And, and then it got personal as well. There's one person in particular whose name I won't mention. But
you should.
No. I think he's still around. I met him at Games Day once. One of his friends introduced me, said, "Oh, this is so and so from the side," and I was nice as pie to him, and he was so nice to me, so nice. I'm thinking, yeah, face to face, you can't do it, can you, matey? You just can't,
Safe at home on your keyboard. I know, but it's very different.
Unfortunately, it didn't really bother me too much. I mean, I thought, well, yeah, you run your mouth off, but I'm the one who's working and enjoying myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I know, certain people would get.
I suppose the woad and the spear didn't help either, did it?
Well, no, it didn't. More like the iron broom, headbutt in the
face. The Glasgow kiss.
Oh yeah,
or the Edinburgh headbutt.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But that makes me glad now that there's so many more women involved.
Yeah.
Because I think there were at the time a lot of women who were into it, but they didn't come forward, Do
you feel like a trailblazer in that situation?
Well, some people have said that to me, but it was circumstance really that got me into it,
Yeah.
I suppose at the time you wouldn't have thought it that way, but you are.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I mean, there was people like Sandra Garrity and people like that in America who were women sculptors. But yeah, I was definitely the only one, as far as I know.
How long was it before, I know it sounds like a weird question, but obviously you were in the sculpting team and you were sculpting stuff, before another female joined? I
don't think there was another female while I was there that I know of. And I don't know whether there's somebody now in the main design studio. I've lost touch with all that.
I wouldn't have a clue. Yeah.
I was saying to Suggs, because I think there is. But
I think there is.
More specialist game studios it is now.
But most of the women who were on the art side of things were artists, or figure painters. There wasn't.
Because Anya and Kirsten have been around for years.
I saw Kirsten the other day, actually.
Yeah, she works at Warlock now.
She did. I was round there signing things for the Talking Miniatures book.
Oh, so yes,
they gave me a tour of Forge World of Warlord.
It feels like old workshop, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Strickers was there and Kirsten.
Oh, of course, Strickland. Yeah. So I kept seeing him walk, because he left workshop, and I kept seeing him walk past. And at that point, I didn't realise that Warlord was
they're just round the back now.
Yeah. I was like, Strickland must have a job. I thought he had enough of workshop. And I was like, he works at
No, it was nice to see them.
Just angrily walking past workshop every day.
Muttering quietly to himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing better to do. Just,
I always used to love, there'll be a time where you'll be painting, and Mark Jones and Strick had quite a relationship, and Strick would just turn up and just talk about the latest movie that's on at the cinema and just trash it. And it was such a funny thing. It's like, you should just his rants are amazing. He should literally just have a podcast and review movies. You get honest trailers.
Yeah.
This is honest trailers. This is like no sort of like pussyfooting around anything.
No, his rants in Forge World were just epic. He would start off in one and you just end up, this is a good one. I'm going to listen to this one.
Settle and get some biscuits.
And you could just say something, and you just set him off into even a worse. It's great.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, learn his triggers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the future.
The future.
You currently working on is orange. It's definitely bright. What other kind of plans do you have for your range of woodland beasts?
It will be added to. These days, being a young lady of increasing years.
Young lady of increasing
years.
Good way of putting it. I might use that for the wife.
Won't say how many.
She's like, I beg your pardon, sir.
Yes. Mature lady. Entering my crone phase.
Crone phase.
There's worse things, I'm telling you.
I used to have a teacher called Mrs. Crone, and she did look like a witch.
I'm hoping I might one day.
Yeah.
Did she have square feet?
I don't know. She never took her shoes off.
Yeah.
She had a wig that was like really, she really scabbing there. She long fingernails.
No, this is all mine. Yeah. But no, I've got to the stage where now I only spend a certain amount of my time doing the sculpts.
Yeah.
Partly because my wrist hurts, my joints hurt, my neck hurts from years and years of
huddling
and
over
I can only do a couple of hours before it gets painful. But there's loads and loads of ideas. And so basically it's me writing. I mean, I've got lots of notes and written stuff about the world, which expands, and characters within it. And I've done, another thing I do is I like to do watercolours and paintings and stuff.
Awesome.
Which a lot of them will appear in this,
Cool.
or the characters from it. And it's nice to have that balance, because I try to get a reasonable amount of stuff out, but obviously I prefer the bigger stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because these days you're focusing on something that's...
Yes.
Have you tried like the magnifying?
Yeah,
like,
they just make me
goggles?
feel sick.
Yeah.
I've got special glasses that I put on that are actually prescription ones to wear, but...
Oh, someone else said that
they
as
kind
well.
of
didn't
work,
they?
yeah.
Was that Gary said that?
Yes.
Yeah. But to me, it's a balance now. It's a work-life balance. You know, I will make things... I tend to do it more in the winter when it's raining.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
You know, and then I want to do other things as well. I want to see family.
Yeah.
You know, I've got grandkids now. We've bought a motorhome just before COVID, so we travel a lot around the place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know, to all sorts of places, and I can take my sketchbook and stuff like that and sketch ideas. You know,
Not as much motorcycling though.
no, not these days. No, on the back of the husband's motorbike, we take it with
so
us.
he still
Yeah,
rides in it,
we drag it behind the home in a trailer and then
sweet.
go zooming off to places.
Sounds fun.
I've always been a bike in one form or another. But yeah, it's nice to have that balance where I'm very enthusiastic about what I do, but I don't break myself doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's the key, isn't it? You should enjoy.
Yeah.
Because you've done so much for
I'll never
the hobby.
stop as long as I can see and I can wield a sculpting tool. I'll always do it because I love it.
Yeah.
But it just won't be 9 to 5, 5 days a week type thing, you know, which...
I think that's the best way,
Yeah,
shouldn't it?
yeah.
Because I suppose if you look back to when you were younger, you even rocked, like you say, you rocked up a bit later than...
Yeah.
Well, why have, like, you know, who makes this 9 to 5? Who created that?
The man.
The man. It's
The
like,
thing is with a creative job as well, you wake up sometimes, you think, you know, you make a mess. You make the most awful mess.
yeah, no.
But then you have to spend the next day changing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even like for like our videos, sometimes I'm like there sat at my desk, like if I'm prepping from home, just like scratching my head, like looking at the internet, thinking what I can do, and then 7 o'clock at night after I've like put Charlie to bed, I'm like,
yeah, can do
and
that.
then spend the next 3-4 hours like nailing out like a colour scheme or something like that. So
You've got to be in the zone, and I mean, I think I'm getting a nice balance.
Yeah.
I've always got something on the go.
yeah, it's the best
Which,
way.
you know, at the moment, there's 2 or 3 things sort of that I'm working on. I'm working on converting the trawl, and I'm also doing these harridans, they're called, which are a swamp. They're like swamp hags.
Swamp hags.
Who wear
My
kind of
favourite
like,
kind of hag.
you know, skirts made of skins. They're very... I'm really into Appalachian folktales, and there's a podcast, Old Gods of Appalachia, that I listen to. Fantastic, wonderful stuff. You know, there's the gods under the earth and the miners and the you know, the sort of stag creatures, and listen to it if you get a chance. Brilliant. But I'm making harridans that are kind of with the same vibe in some ways. Haints, harridans, that kind of thing. Haints are ghosts.
Oh, is that
haints
another
is an
nice
old,
new word
a nice,
that I've heard.
Yeah, the sort of word from Appalachia places.
Listen to that.
So I'm doing these, and they'll be long, straggly hair. They're swamp creatures. I might actually just give them one eye, even although they've got human faces.
Yeah.
And
It's
a
like
swamp,
Cyclops
and a sort of plaguey, swampy dragon is being sketched at the moment as well. So that's the next little direction, is just a slightly
Did you do the Albion
sideways.
Fenbees, by the way?
Did.
Yes. I'm getting by. I'm just hearing this. I'm like, feels like the Albion Fenbees.
Yeah, there'll be, I suppose. You can't help but put these kind of influences in it. But no, it's a slightly darker side to some of the stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
So I've got one question.
Go on then.
It's one that like other sculptors have been asked. If you were to go back and make one change to a model of your choice, would you?
God.
Have you got like a project that you like? I'd like to have done that different, knowing what I know now, or having the experience of doing things.
Everything.
Everything. Okay. All of it.
No,
That's so the internet don't hate you.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could say the old stuff, but there again, you didn't have the experience in those days, so you were doing it. You know, I think you always look back. I think if you do something and you're really 100% happy with it, you're not doing it right. Cause, you know, you should always want the next thing to be better.
Everything could be tweaked, everything could be improved. Yeah, absolutely.
It's knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what I find difficult, is I get so involved in stuff.
Yeah.
Apart from feathers, damned feathers.
And it's worth noting as well, I only found this out, that you've painted all the things for the website, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Apart
you
from,
put me
I
to
think,
shame.
Giuseppe Ciaffelli, he does Axia Paint Studio. Italian chap. He used to work for Forge World, and he painted the Cyclops and the Hydra, because they were originally done for Footsore for their mythic supplement for Mortal Gods.
We had Paul Hicks on yesterday.
Lovely Paul Hicks.
And
yes.
he's
a talented chap.
He's
a very talented chap.
I've not realised how much of his stuff I've painted over the years.
He's so good.
But he's moving into doing like orcs and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
The Baron's War and
they're
whatever.
fantastic,
so seeing some of those merged with some of these will be quite an interesting
they're really
aesthetic.
nice figures. Yeah. So.
It looked like you got a question to ask.
I'm just going through some of the Patreon questions, which I can dive in and ask at some stage.
Is there a cheese related one?
Not
cheese
not yet. Well, we usually always get asked by our patrons.
We had a cheese club at Forge World.
Oh, you did? I remember that.
Oh my god! Behind the scenes.
But no one talked about cheese club.
No.
Was that rule number one?
That was rule number one.
Rule number one.
We are now.
We had a cheese club.
I remember cheese club.
I will say no more.
They started to incorporate that into publication. Cheese club, but didn't do it as well. Because everyone would forget. It was like it was like 12 o'clock, the last Friday of every month, and everyone would forget, and then it'll be in your diary, and you'd be like, oh, everyone missed Cheese Club again, because no one cared, because it's rubbish. Because they brought like Dairy and Mini Baby, not proper cheeses.
No.
Yeah.
It had to be something different.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a full-size Baby Bell?
No, I didn't know there was such a thing.
Well, because do they exist? Because the little red ones are like mini Baby Bells,
so
which implies that there's one that isn't mini.
No, that's true.
Mother bells and father bells. Yeah.
They like these big ones that they roll down the hills, and
after,
What a waste of cheese.
In Gloucester, well, you win the cheese in the Gloucestershire, don't you?
Yeah, but what stays the cheese in when you finish?
Covered in cow pat.
It's in wax.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
it's not just it's not just the naked cheese.
Mm.
yeah.
The naked cheese.
So a couple of questions have been sort of like, what's your favourite sculpt? And if you could go back and have the chance to redo it.
Sorry.
So we need to apologise to Andrew and Phil.
You got there first.
But Phil has asked, not necessarily what's your favourite sculpt, but what did you have the most fun sculpting?
Ooh. Now, I love doing the slan.
Yeah.
Because I love Aztec type imagery. They were good. A lot of it was the creatures. Fenrisine wolves, like I mentioned before, I love doing them. The troll hag for, the Troggoth, or whatever they call them now, Troggoth hag for Forge World. I really enjoyed that because I could embarrass so many people with it, especially 12-year-olds at Ramsday. It's like they'd look at it, the eye level, and it'd be like, But that was a great one. That was a fun one to do.
Just a quick one to diverge. Did you do any of the Ogre Kingdom stuff?
Did I do Ogre
Because there was a
Kingdoms?
female ogre with a
Yetis.
rolling pin.
No, I didn't do the ogres. I did the Yetis and the Gorgers.
I remember the Gorgers and the Yetis,
yeah.
Gorgers were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very violent looking dudes.
But, anything that's got a bit of a sense of humour in it, preferably a bit of rudeness, a bit of, a bit of character.
I think it was Mark Holmes. He painted one of the Yetis, and he made because it was like they had like wooden blocks with like ice weapons.
That's right.
And he made it look like translucent ice, which
wow.
was really weird. Because it like
I'm always amazed how they could do that.
I know. It's like because it was like almost like you could see like other parts of the woods.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it always used to freak me out.
Yeah.
Very very cracking job. I always remember seeing that and thinking, That's nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, diverged.
No. It's all part of the show. So Scott asks, do you think you will embark down the road of 3D printed monsters? No. Yeah.
No, I just haven't got the time
Yeah.
or the inclination to do everything.
Yeah.
I like to think, there's so much plastic and 3D and stuff now. I'm going for this is handmade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is exclusive.
I think it's going to become so rare that people do that skill.
I just don't. Oops, sorry, microphone. I just don't have the time or the energy to sort of go down all that. You know.
That's
I mean,
fair.
I have a Z brush at home and I've used it a few times, but it's it's fun, but it's not as much fun as clay.
I've used Illustrator and Photoshop. I just prefer using a pencil and a sketch. I want to do stuff by hand, and I think that it could be a skill that eventually, if not saying it's going to be lost, a lost art, but
there's less and less people doing it.
Well, it's also like, and we had this conversation with Gary. When people used to mock his models, like Nagash and stuff. It's like, remember how big they are? It's actually all hand done.
I know, it's like it gets more and more difficult the older you get to actually focus on it. But I think it's also, I mean, a lot of the 3D printed and the plastic kits, they're wonderful. They're beautifully sculpted, wonderful poses. I really like a lot of them, but they're almost too perfect. They're almost too sort of, you can tell where bits have been mirrored, where, you can tell where a bit's been taken off another bit and put in and changed. And to me, it's the sort of, it's the Bob Ross happy little accidents that happen when you're using something like clay.
Yeah.
That make it, I don't know, it just makes it more real to me.
Well, the way I see it is like when you look at like churches or monasteries or something like that, and it's all been hand carved. All the marble and all the archways and stuff like that. When then you go to like modern day buildings, it's like, it's just a plaster cast. So you can tell straight away because it's like flawless. Whereas that, it's beautiful, but also has like little imperfections.
I mean, it's like when you see a painting, you can actually look at the brush strokes. As opposed to something that's been done, in Photoshop or something, which can be wonderful.
No.
And, at the moment with AI, at least still this hasn't quite got affected by it.
Wow.
Who knows?
Show me some AI generated.
I'll get there.
I remember like going to see a Van Gogh exhibit in York, and I think they've taken over like this abandoned church and they project all his art everywhere and all that sort of stuff.
I've read about that. It's travelled around, I think.
Hasn't it? It's done a bit. And that was really cool. And I was like, I wonder if you could paint Marines like Van Gogh. That would be really fun. And I got like a book and I was looking through his art, and you think, these pictures are great and this, that and the other. But then going to the National Gallery in London and actually seeing that same picture and all the texture and the brushstrokes, and I should probably edit to myself while I do my little monologue, was it just that whole additional level of just being like, I can imagine him there painting it and seeing all this and what does that mean, and like that extra level of detail is phenomenal.
It's like recently we were down visiting my brother he's down near Portsmouth, and we were at a national, excuse your stomach,
Excuse my belly.
Shall I have a biscuit?
I will do.
We were down visiting him in Portsmouth, and we went to sort of a couple of National Trust and a couple of other galleries, and there was wonderful collections of Pre-Raphaelite. I love Pre-Raphaelite, and some Turners and all sorts of stuff that I hadn't seen in the flesh before. This Rossetti that's quite a famous one, and it's just, you're standing that close to it, just looking at how it's all made. And to me, that's just, you're getting a real look into the artist's mind. And I think you can, in a way, with sculpts, it can be similar. You can see where decisions have been made. You can see where, it's like with my stuff, a lot of it's very involved, but with things that aren't trees, which are covered in stuff anyway, I try to leave spaces where things can be painted freehand, or it's being aware of not everybody is a world-class painter, and you want people to feel proud and happy of what they've painted. But if they want to try something like this, they could dry brush it and it would look good, because it's got that kind of texture on it. It's all about the textures and stuff,
because we did have a world-class painter on as a guest a few weeks ago.
Who was that?
Richard Gray.
Oh gosh,
And-
Richard, fantastic.
And he also said that he prefers the spaces
Yes.
in between stuff. Like, he doesn't like too much detail either.
Well, no, because then you can
Yeah.
let your own imagination go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting
Yeah.
because I think the argument that I'd seen a lot online was there's too much detail and they're making everything for really high-end painters. And then speaking to a high-end painter, he was like, no, I hate it. Like, I want to be able to show off my own skill.
Well, I think that's one of the problems with digital art, because you can keep zooming in, zooming in. You can end up with, spaghetti junction because you put so much on it,
Yeah. Yeah, something beautiful.
Yeah, there's an
Spaghetti
interesting
Junction's horrible.
divergence to that comment as well. Like I saw a few people say, "Oh no, the reason why they have so much detail now is for people that paint with contrast." It's like, no, it's been going on for a long time.
It's been going on for
this detail.
The contrast
creep.
picks it up well.
Yes, the contrast absolutely, but there's
Yeah.
still lots of plain armoured marines, but
Yeah.
there's still got like the world's allocation of like pouches and
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just
fetishes and stuff.
it's almost too much. It's like,
It's what clippers are for, Trish.
well, yeah, but it's almost like three figures worth of stuff
Yeah,
on
yeah.
one figure, and I get why they're doing it, because they can, and
Doesn't
it
mean they
does
should.
Well, yeah, true. Bless you.
Bless me indeed.
Hay fever.
Oh God, it's hideous this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Doped up the eyeballs and antihistamines. Yeah.
yeah, like me and my partner, we're sort of like, we don't have hay fever, but we're sneezing a bit
Yeah,
more than
you're
we ever
feeling-
have
yeah.
this year.
Liz is the same. She's
Yeah.
never really suffered with hay fever. And,
Yeah, my husband's the same. He's just
and she's
sneezing fits.
like streaming and sneezing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
So, am I right in thinking that you did the metal tree beard?
I did, yes.
Yes,
I did,
fantastic.
which was, I didn't do very much for Lord of the Rings, but I did Treebeard, Shelob, Cement, the Eagles.
Oh yes, Eagles.
Yeah.
So that was great to be
None of the
involved in that
plastic
in a small way.
versions of
No,
those,
they
yes,
were
all the metal
they were
ones.
metal ones.
Yeah, because someone has said, I remember the metal tree man. I was 12 and I got it and I
Oh
was
God, he was 12.
and I was overwhelmed on how to paint it. So my dad, who liked painting with oils, painted it for me.
Cool.
And then his question is, what miniature brings you a good memory?
Brings me a good memory. I'd have to say probably that first range of Beastmen,
Yeah.
because it was my very first range I'd done. It was great fun to do. I was just allowed to run with it and be totally wacky. And I felt really proud of myself when I finished them. And the fact they were going on sale and people were buying them.
Yeah,
you
that
know.
must be a weird, strange feeling.
And I would start to see them pop up at games days painted and people's armies and things. And it was like, oh, that's a really good memory.
Yeah.
That's,
Brilliant.
And
then Gunwitch starts his question off by saying, "Oh my God!"
Nice.
Your reputation precedes.
oh God, as long as it's a bad one, that's fine.
No. It says, "Do you have any plans on re-releasing the Marauder Giant?"
They're not ours to re-release. I mean,
What about resculpting?
yeah. I mean,
Don't want to give you more work than you already got.
it would be lovely. I would love to re-release them, but they belong to Workshop.
Yeah.
They were Workshop's thing.
Yeah.
So even although the company is dissolved and no longer exists now,
Yeah.
it's a very grey area. But,
Yeah.
you do get people like, Tim Prow, Die Hard, and Drew. He does a lot
Yeah.
of old style, which are pretty much those figures, just slightly. But to me, I don't want to go back and redo something that I've done in the past
Yeah.
that looks 90% like it. I want to do my own stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it will have a kind of a feel of Marauder,
Yeah.
because that's what I love, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I would never do something. It's like the Tree Man. It's similar in some ways
Yes,
to the old
yeah.
ones, but it's not.
It's got a similar silhouette, but when you look at it, it's very...
If we were able to re-release Marauder, God, we'd do it in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, we can't.
Do the molds even still exist?
I don't know whether Brian might still have some.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
I've still got loads of the greens, but
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So for anyone that's watching that, and because I know everything, Marauder Miniatures was your own company that you set up, and then got absorbed into Games Workshop?
Yeah, it was kind of still part of Workshop, but we were the figureheads, if you like, of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Michael asks,
what's my brother doing on there? Gets everywhere.
Do you play much with your miniatures, or are you mainly focused on the creative side of things?
I think I've played 2 games of Warhammer in my life. Sorry.
Paul said the same thing.
Paul was the same.
I mean, we used to play things like Talisman and some of the board games, they're good fun. But no, my interest has never been in the playing side. It's been in the art side of it, the creative side of it.
Yeah. No,
I just, rolling dice and counting, that was never my scene,
Yeah.
I still struggle with that.
Yeah, counting's never been my strong point. I failed my maths level twice.
Same.
Yeah, good man.
I nearly did, but I brought it back. Okay, so Damon asks, I still think your 4... starts off with a statement. I still think your 4 greater demons are iconic.
I've still got a... I think
They're so tiny now.
I think I may have donated to Suggs to paint up.
Oh, right.
But I had the Keeper's Secrets in its box.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And
it's horse face.
And
Sorry.
the question that's attached to it, I've had to read it several times to make sure I try and pronounce everything correctly. Do you feel that some of the old school cryptozoology and mythology has been lost in Games Workshop's current fantasy settings?
I think it's moved on. I think the core is still there, but you've got to expect things to move on.
Yeah.
I think, yes, in new races probably it's different. But I think the root is still there. It's just sometimes it's evolved so far that it's maybe hard to find that route. But
just for any viewers that might not know what that means, is that suggesting like making weird beasts and creatures?
Well,
including myself.
Yeah. No, I think the cryptozoology thing is kind of what a lot of this stuff was to a degree, because it's such a rich vein to mine for weird and wonderful creatures, as is mythology. But as Workshop progressed and grew bigger and bigger and started the plastics, there were so many more of their own ideas coming in, whereas maybe in the beginning we had taken certain ideas.
Yeah. Inspired by. And
made them into figures or artwork. They still do it to some degree because you can see it in some of the figures. But I don't think as much. I think they're trying to make it theirs.
Yeah.
Get the IP completely 100% GW.
Yeah. Which I guess they kind of have to from a legal perspective.
It'll be interesting to see, when the Old World eventually comes out, where that takes us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, the Bretonians have been announced, but one of the biggest things they had was like trying to move away to make Bretonians more Games Workshop, because they are just French knights, right?
Yeah.
Old feudal medieval knights.
Yeah, they were. I imagine. I think some people might be disappointed in that they're workshopped up a bit, and they're not just
knights
copies of what came before. But I think I don't think they'll do that, because obviously it's
need more skulls on it.
You would need more skulls. They have to move it on to a degrry. But I just hope they bring back, things like the Famir. I love the Famir.
Oh yeah.
Some of the more out of the way.
Do you know what the Famir is?
I do not.
He's like it's like a cycloptine sort of like lizard thing.
Fomorian type.
Yeah. So the first time I ever stumbled across it, and probably I might have seen it in like some of the brothers magazines, was Hero Quest used to have a wandering monster with his double-headed axe.
Oh, right.
It was a Famir.
Interesting.
Just bringing back maybe some of the stuff that's not covered as much at the moment would be great.
Yeah. I think with like Age of Sigmar, when they do like the Curse City or Silver Tower, they're the kind of place where you can get away with doing
some
that stuff.
Some of those things, like what do they call the wood? You know, where they're under the forest and underneath it. I can't remember. They've got a name for that.
Oh, I don't know.
You know, it's one of the supplement pack things. I can't remember what they call it.
So many of them now.
Yeah, but some of the figures, gnarlwood. That's
Yeah.
it. Some of the figures for that are just fantastic.
Yeah, Underworlds is great for that.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
Cause little set, push fit, lots of like ideas. Because they did there's the hunt something.
Yeah,
off
there
hunt,
was
and there was like a load of like elf fawns. And then an elf centaur, which was really cool.
I think I like those little ranges better than the main ranges and a lot of the time, because they're just a little bit more out there, a little bit more sideways, you know.
Scratch a little edge or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe a Vermeer warband down the line.
That'd be cool.
You never know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Matt Dutton asks, hardest anatomical feature to sculpt?
Hardest anatomical feature to sculpt. Don't say it.
That's immediately where my brain went to as well.
Yeah, great minds.
Willies. I'm going to say it.
Peachy. It's probably hands and feet.
Yeah.
Hands and feet are, and getting the head shape properly. In fact, anatomy's a bitch, really. You know, which is why fantasy's good, because you can stretch it and, you know, it's fantasy.
Yes, yeah.
No, you have to know kind of that it's right, but I find feet really problematic at times.
Interesting. Drawing. I hate feet. And hands can be a bit tricky. Hands I'm better at than feet, but there's an artist called Brom.
Oh, Brom's
Gerald
good,
Brom. He got such good stuff. And for a long time, I came to the conclusion he doesn't like doing feet, because most of his feet are pointed down like that. Yeah. Or you just never see them.
You don't see them.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't like drawing feet either. This is good. I'm not alone.
I remember in for one of my like GCSE art pieces, I'd drawn like one of the guitarists from like Slipknot, like because they wear all the masks and everything, and I'd drawn the guitar and I'd drawn him, and then I like tried drawing his feet, and I was just like, nah, when they were playing there was just dry ice over his ankles.
Nice one. Yeah.
Best way.
Yeah, feet are terrible.
Yeah.
I think for animals, horses, I just hate making horses.
Oh, it's a fantastic a tapestry where someone is like, have you seen a horse? And it's like, no worries. And it's so bizarre.
I've seen one with cats as well. It's just like, you've seen a cat before.
So
many
good. Yeah.
Like, I think just drawing, just in general, can just be so hard. Like, there's an amazing, it's either a collection of images or a video where someone said, from memory, draw a bike.
Oh God, yeah.
And you think, right, okay, well, it's made up of triangles and it's got two round things. Yeah. And I'll see if I can find them to put them over, because they just
I imagine you get some
ludicrous.
Really
And you're like, that would never work. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so David, apologies, your question's already been covered. The Great Unclean One was/is one of my favourite miniatures. It was featured in the first...
He's cuddly, isn't he? He's cuddly and lovely. And...
Have you ever seen the Great Clean One?
The Great Clean
So, you know the plastic Great Unclean One? It's terrifying. Someone has filled all the gaps, and I would say it's more scary
I can imagine.
than the Great Unclean One.
I'll need to look for that.
It is terrifying.
I'll show you right now.
Oh, good.
I'll edit it to myself so people can see it.
Oh my God. That's like something out of a serial killer horror movie. That's disturbing. It's really disturbing.
I think it's worse. I think it's worse.
That's like going in
Heresy for the Emperor.
You can edit that one out.
We'll just bleep that.
Some heresy got spoken there.
You're allowed to have your opinions.
No, it's just, you know.
Okay, it was featured in the first White Dwarf I ever bought.
Right.
And it says, what is your favourite greater demon?
Ooh.
I think it's got to be Nurgle.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Nurgle because it's, again, you know, it's disgusting and, icky and...
Yeah.
Did you enjoy doing pustules?
I very much enjoyed doing pustules. I very much enjoyed doing pustules. And And maggots and,
maggots,
tentacles and all the good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Entrails hanging out.
Yeah, that's the one.
I love like seeing things like the Nurglings just nibbling on entrails or just like swinging off them.
Yeah.
Or
well, I mean, I was always
up.
told I was not a proper girl because I was such a tomboy, hated Barbie and all that kind of thing. And it was always like dinosaurs, horror movies, you know.
I love Barbie, and I love
yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you? What you do in your own time's your business.
Everyone's got to have a hobby.
Yes. Just don't tell me you're into My Little Pony as well.
Well, Barbie rides them. That's how she gets to working back. I mean, come on.
Because it's you can be a brony, can't you?
Yeah, you can be a brony.
A thing.
Seriously disturbing.
Is that like
I don't know enough about it, but I think
brothers that like ponies?
My Little Pony, but it has its own world and lore and all sorts. Like,
well, why not? If it makes you happy.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy.
Yeah. Okay. Lewis also asks, are there any projects you wished you'd done at Games Workshop?
Any projects I wished I'd done? That's a very good question.
There's a lot.
Probably. No, I mean, I think at the time, everybody had their strengths.
Yeah.
And I had so much to do with what I was doing that I didn't really... And actually, I was involved in a lot of projects because so many armies would have a monster or a creature.
Yes.
That's true.
So in some way, I was involved. And I never really wanted to make the sort of 32mm sized stuff as much. I enjoy doing the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So the one doesn't stand out as something that I would have, stamped my feet because I didn't get to do it, because I did get some involvement in a lot of them, Yeah.
Very good.
Big fan of the, you were involved in this, is the Chaos Dwarf Lamassu Taurus.
I didn't do...
Did you not do those?
I didn't do any of those.
I was always a big fan of the beard.
No, No, I didn't.
I think it's the
Never did
Lamassu,
any,
that's the beard.
Interesting. No, didn't do him. No, didn't do him.
They didn't trust you to make beards.
Probably not.
No.
What was it? I saw the. So I think when Peachy said, "Oh, we're going to get Trish on," I've been looking at your Instagram and stuff like that, and I saw. I guess originally, like the question I asked earlier a little bit was like the older, like hand sculpted stuff. I kind of look at it and go, "That's hand sculpted."
Yeah.
But then I saw the massive Tyrannid that you made for Forge World.
Yeah, the Dimachron,
I'm glad you pronounced it.
I don't know if that's right, but
can't pronounce it.
Because I looked at it and I was like,
that's maybe one range I'd like to have done more for. Tyranids.
Due
to Starship Troopers and my love for that.
Such a great film.
Aliens, I suppose go down the route.
And I looked at that and I was like, oh my god, like.
Yeah, that was hand done.
And I thought that was insane. Like somebody could have told me that was digital and plastic.
That was fiddly as heck with all the bits coming out the chest and But I enjoyed that one. I like that one.
That looked really awesome.
I like a Tyrannid.
Did you do more than one Tyrannid, or was that the only?
That I've done a couple of littler ones in the past, but that was the main one. Yeah.
Okay, Dave coming in with a classic painting phase question, i.e. a bit silly.
I like silly.
Good. If your most recently sculpted miniature was on a ceaseless mission to come and assassinate you, which of your other miniatures would you pick to be your protector?
Well, now... Oh, I think this guy would protect me. Yes,
I
think he's a griffin, Peachy. He's not an eagle guy. He's a griffin.
I said exactly the same thing.
Yes.
I wasn't paying attention to the brief.
Do you know nothing?
No, I know nothing.
He'd protect me.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then who would be coming to assassinate you? Who's your most recent? Please say it's the frog.
No. Yeah, well, it could be actually. No, the one that will be coming out soon that I'm just going to pick up the first cast of this week is Another Tree Man, which was based on a drawing I did, which is like a four-armed. He's got like this mouth that's spiky and he's got claws and and he's not Vengesour. His name is Vengesour, so he's not very nice.
So we could pick him up and just drop him in a volcano.
Yeah, he could. Yeah.
Sweet.
So I think that the new one would definitely have a go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He's a grumpy
Good
one.
question.
He's particularly grumpy.
Has he got a grumpy face?
Well, he's just got a horrible face.
Oh,
Lots of
cool.
spiky, you know.
Spiky.
Spiky. No wonder he's grumpy.
If you could sculpt a new breed of Chaos Xenos demon, what would you want the outcome to look like? I guess
my
Nurgle,
gosh.
as we've maybe mentioned.
Well, if it's going to be new,
Oh,
if it's going to be new,
yeah.
I might go for something along the lines of some of the old bestial horn god type, Wendigo type,
Oh, yeah.
weird.
So it's kind of like a bit of Beastman-y in a way, but not quite.
A bit of Beastman-y, but again, it's some of these old legends of
Yeah.
things in the woods. I love things in the woods in dark places,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and it's all the sort of Wendigo type shapeshifters.
That's cool.
You know, you could have this creature that was bits of other creatures on it, and just have something that was just this weird,
Pretty chaosy.
like a forest version of the Thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Something
ooh,
like that might be quite
ooh.
fun.
Terrifying.
Yeah, that does sound good fun.
I have to make one now, actually.
Yeah, also imagine that film in a forest instead of the Arctic. That'd be interesting.
Someone has said, can't wait for you to restart Marauder Miniatures when Ali
wish.
goes into retirement. Winky face.
Yeah. Oh, we've chatted about how great it would be if that could be done, but
Yeah. Oh, crikey. Adam Langford, you have to swap jobs with one of the three hosts for a week. So do you paint an army in 12 hours, film and edit the whole process,
oh gosh, no.
or Jeff, who sadly can't be here, he is a barber by trade.
Oh, nah, I quite fancy that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
be a
think that'd
barber for a
fun.
week.
Yeah.
Just number 0 all over, right?
Yeah. Oh, let me at someone with scissors. Yeah.
See what you can make out there. Yeah.
That'd be quite cool. Stick some good colours on.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Barber it is then.
definitely barber. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and someone said, if you were still at Games Workshop, what could you see yourself working on at the moment, or what would you have liked to work on?
The old world, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Right up my street. Yeah.
Sad face.
Sad face.
Why, he's coming back?
I know, but it's missing a key element.
Oh, yeah.
Hence sad face.
I'm sure what comes out will be fantastic. They've got some great designers there.
Fantastic, but not fantastical.
We'll see.
Don't know why I said
We'll
that.
see.
It
Yeah.
sounded smart in my head. Came
They've
out,
got some
sounded
good
dumb.
sculptors working on it.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure it'll
absolutely.
be,
Well, my mate's
pretty
one
cool.
of them. But I
You
don't
have
think-
mates?
I surprisingly,
Do
yeah,
you?
yeah, I know. I buy them.
Yeah,
There's a
They're quite
website
cheap
called
these days,
Fiverr.
aren't they? Fiverr.
Buy
Mate
mates
for a
from
Fiverr.
by a friend.
By a
Yeah.
By a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. Yeah, we've got through all of our...
Cool.
through all the
So
questions,
you suggested a giveaway.
Yes.
I have yet to think
I will
of a
let
question.
these lovely lads find the question and everything, but basically any figure that you would like from the Harrowhurst range, from biggest to smallest, but I choose biggest because they're more expensive. Yeah. Winner of the question, winner of the random whatever.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be...
gets to
What-
pick any
Yeah.
figure. So you've got the Cyclops and the Harpy, the Hydra, which are big. You've got these
Yeah.
guys in front
So
here.
you
Yeah.
get one item off the website, any
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
And then we just get their address, and then you guys, Mark will send it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think the question could be, what was the first range that Trish worked on
Good
on her
question.
own
Good
and
question.
got released
Yes.
that she was
Good question.
proud of?
Nice question.
We'll see who's been listening.
Yeah.
And anyone that is watching, this is for patrons only. So if you want to be part of this, join our Patreon. Minimal is £3 a month. If you do put your answer into the comments on YouTube, and sadly you won't be put into the prize draw.
But it helps.
The algorithm.
Oh,
By all means.
yes. Go with the algorithm.
Help out the patrons with the answer if they don't know.
Yeah,
Shoving it in the
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it helps. Helps everyone.
And I will do my plug that if you want to take a good look at what I've been doing in the past, all the old figures, there's my Facebook page,
Yeah.
which is Trish Carden's Miniature and Design.
Oh,
And then there's Monster Girl Trish on Instagram.
Yes.
So
I've been thoroughly enjoying
I
your
try to
Instagram,
post
yeah.
a couple of times a week with old stuff and memories and
Yeah.
new stuff as well, obviously.
Some of those recent
but
photos are worth
yeah.
checking out. On
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I saw like a rogue Bob Naismith in the corner.
There was a rogue Bob Naismith,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a couple of pictures of him. I've got another batch I'll put up.
Oh,
so-
brilliant.
Yeah,
Oh, we were about to put Trish's details on the
of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the description so people can easily
Yeah.
navigate to those
Would be
places.
much appreciated.
Most welcome.
yeah,
appreciated.
yeah.
Well,
And
we-
you know, anybody on the socials, if you've got questions and stuff, you know, I'm happy to chat. It's great for me to talk to people
Yeah.
who've supported me for such a long time, you know, and just you know, listen to what they have to say, sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome.
I think
Cool.
you'd be surprised by how many people you probably impacted over the years with just like the creations you've made and stuff. Because I found this
Yeah.
every time when we had Gary on, when we had Paul
Yeah, yeah.
the other day, Bob. I mean, Bob, I was so surprised by even like non-games workshop stuff.
Yeah.
I had a game
He's
called
done
Dark
so
World,
much.
the
Yeah.
Test Cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just so
He's
much
done
stuff.
such a variety of
And I'm
odd
like,
things.
He's
isn't he?
prolific, isn't
He
he?
is. Oh,
I
he's so
played
quick.
that.
And
Yeah.
it's quite interesting hearing the different routes people have taken, and how he's sort of gone digital now.
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's a good thing because his
Yeah.
desk was just a health hazard. It's like milliputs and dust and green stuff, and it was always who's the worst, the Perry twins or,
Oh, yeah, the
or
Perrys.
Bob?
I
or the
remember I
Perrys.
lent them 300 the movie with Gerard Butler. And I think it wasn't long before we were all moving downstairs.
Yeah.
And I said to, I think it was Alan, because he was like, oh, I've not seen it.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got it if you want to borrow. I was like, no, all right, I brought it in. And it was like a year later, I was like, have you still got 300? He was like, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, see ya. I was like, how was that under like 1989 sculpted models? That have already,
Oh wow!
you've just gone back in time.
At Enfield Chambers, they used to, you know, you'd finish a thing and you had a bit of green stuff or milliput left, and they just stick it. And they had this pile of just stick.
Yeah, yeah.
Just disgusting.
Yeah,
you know?
you didn't see the cubicle 1 and cubicle 2 of the upstairs toilets, you know, in the design studio above.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't if it was the
Reception.
men's
No, I
toilets,
know,
would
but,
I? You know,
but this is going to be a question. Was there any of that? Did you used to go into the toilet and sculpt as well? Because I know the Perrys.
I mean, the Perrys, because Bob said like, oh, like, you know, there'd be green stuff on the floor of your
Oh,
cubicle
God, yeah,
toilets,
yeah.
and then through the various sculptors that we've talked to,
Yeah.
they were like, oh yeah, the Perrys could sculpt on the toilet.
they could sculpt with their eyes shut, basically, you know. There was green stuff everywhere, though, you know,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
stuck to your shoes, stuck
Yeah, all on the carpet.
Yeah.
walking
Yeah,
through.
disgusting, yeah.
It's
Maybe that's why they went digital, just to save on cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Fun days indeed.
Yeah, it really does sound like the Wild West. It's great.
It was. It
Yeah.
was like the Wild West, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Trish.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
been awesome.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, good. Well, it's nice to like
Yeah.
just talk about people's histories and stuff and get it out there.
Yeah.
Eventually, this will just turn into a mass documentary of Games Workshop.
Yeah.
employees, won't it?
Yeah.
I think we're going that way, aren't we? We're going to have to do
But
like
it's
a...
nice, though,
yeah.
because it's just, you know, when you're talking to people like this, things spark off ideas and,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
and you remember things.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
remember.
Which your adult brain has forgotten up to now.
Yeah, I think it's really great as well from a perspective of I guess it's we know your name, like, and we can
Yeah,
say,
which is bizarre,
like,
you
please, like, come onto the show and talk
Yeah.
about your experiences, and at some stage, like, I don't know, like
I'll be
maybe
void of that.
like there'll be a void, or somebody
Yeah,
might
there will
say,
be, yeah.
somebody might get in touch with us and
Yeah.
say, I promise I sculpted at Games
Yeah.
Workshop, and you'll
Yeah.
just have
I
to
was proud to be
take
part
my
of the
word
team,
for it.
but-
Oh, it's such a shame.
Yeah.
I really think they should be credited.
Yeah,
agreed.
I really
Yeah.
do, because it gives that personal touch as well, that personal connection.
Yeah,
And
You know.
yeah.
I've known you for a fair few years.
Yeah.
You've never had an ego about it. You just go
No,
in, do
well-
your job, and I think that's the weird thing is like there's this.
I don't
sense of
think there
ego.
are big egos,
No,
really.
no.
Because the
Well,
way
there
I
are.
look
They-
at
they
it,
tend
well,
to-
yeah, there are a few.
But we don't talk about that.
No, but no, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think I've been hugely lucky
Yeah.
to wake up on a Monday morning and think, yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah.
And, you know, most of the time, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, you know, being able to do something like this has just been a joy, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think every job I've fallen into has been luck.
Yeah.
And a bit of skill, obviously. I won't put myself down too
But
much.
it's often who you know and you know, you're in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
basically, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, all good. All
Yeah.
good.
Brilliant.
We're going to eat some cookies.
Yeah,
starving.
cookies. Yeah, well, I can tell by the noises your stomach's been making. I'll race you to the cookies.